Here's the thing that most people get wrong about losing fat, and especially if you are an endurance athlete, like a cyclist, you cannot do this. Otherwise, you're not going to lose fat, you're going to lose water weight, you're going to lose muscle mass. And it is probably the most common fallacy that there is when it comes to this. You don't just need to do a caloric deficit. A caloric deficit will, yes, allow you to lose weight. But are you trying to lose muscle mass? Are you just trying to lose water weight? Or are you actually trying to increase your performance and strategically lose fat and maintain or even gain as much muscle as possible to increase your FTP and decrease your kilograms, thus increasing that watts per kilo? If that is what you're trying to do, then you need to be more strategic. So in this video, we're going to discuss what the caloric deficit fallacy is and what you should be doing as a cyclist who wants to increase your performance, who wants to gain watts on your FTP while dropping in the kilos. Just like my client who recently gained 30 watts on his FTP while losing 10 pounds, just like I did as I gained 50 watts on my FTP while losing 20 pounds. Even now, just recently as I traveled, lost 5 pounds and put 20 watts on my FTP. Or Suf1, who lost 10 pounds and put 55 watts on his FTP. So let's have that conversation. My name is Ely. I'm the go-to coach for CEO cyclists. Let's dive in. So let's start here. A standard caloric deficit essentially means that you are eating less than your total energy expenditure. Total energy expenditure being made up of RMR, or your resting metabolic rate, plus your active calories burned throughout the day. So this includes things like exercise and cycling, strength training, just going on walks, doing your chores, etc. And there's some other things in there that are a little bit smaller on the scale, but essentially take those two numbers, which are the major players, and how much energy you need to maintain your weight. So just for example, let's say your RMR in this case is 1800 calories and you do 700 calories worth of movement, which warrants another 700 calories. That means that the maintenance calories that you need is 2500 to maintain weight. So most people look at that and be like, okay, cool. So if I eat 2000 or 1800, or if you want to be really aggressive with it, which I don't recommend, this is not healthy, but like 1500 calories, I'm going to lose weight. Sure. But again, what weight are you trying to lose here? Let me put it in a business example for a second. Imagine that you want to grow your profit, meaning your take-home pay, you want to put more money in your pocket. And as a business owner, you decide my biggest expense here is my ads, my marketing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna absolutely slash my marketing budget, which currently I'm paying $10,000 a month for. So I'm gonna absolutely slash my marketing budget and put $10,000 a month back into my business. But that marketing budget is the only thing that's keeping your business alive. So rather than actually putting more money in your pocket, you're losing money. You see, the calories that you're consuming are actually the engine that are fueling your growth, that are fueling your rides, and that are allowing you to stay healthy, stay fit, and stay alive. You don't just want to cut expenses. You want to cut waste. They're not the same. Because if you're blindly cutting calories, you might be cutting the same things that you need to grow and improve and adapt to your training. So essentially, if you're just hopping on a caloric deficit, you are running a cost-cutting campaign blindly. That's going to cripple your metabolism. It's going to slash your muscle mass in half, if not more, and your performance is going to tank. You might lose 15 pounds, but you also lose 50 watts on your FTP, and you look the exact same in the mirror. So what's the point at that point? So I want you to stop for a moment chasing weight loss. Stop worrying about the number in the scale and start thinking about performance. And most of the time, the weight loss will come naturally. So we're going to talk about 4 variables that actually drive fat loss and performance-based fat loss specifically. Variable 1 is going to be a clear training stimulus. Essentially, if your body doesn't know what to adapt to, then it will not adapt to anything. That's where clarity comes in. So I want you to think of this like budgeting, for example. But let's say you only have $10, right? And you know throughout the day you want to buy a loaf of bread, that loaf of bread costs $5. You need to buy some water, costs $1. And who knows what other expenses you have throughout the day. If you know that that same expense is going to come up every single day, every day I'm going to spend $5 on a loaf of bread and $1 on a bottle of water, then you are going to prioritize and set that money aside because you're expecting that to be used. Your body works the same way. You give it energy, but it knows, because of a clear training stimulus, it begins to expect that you are going to use that energy towards training. And so it sets some of that energy aside to be used for your training. It thinks to itself, I need to keep that neuromuscular system alive. I need to perform this ride again tomorrow. So here's the thing. Without a clear training stimulus, your body will reallocate those resources. Perhaps you'll store them as fat. Perhaps you'll just send them somewhere else. Your body literally doesn't know what energy to preserve and you end up losing the wrong weight. So an unclear training stimulus will yield unclear results. Essentially, random workouts, random results. Your body adapts to what it's constantly trained to adapt to, what it's constantly being exposed to. And so this is actually kind of funny. Research shows that an unclear training stimulus is just as bad and can be just as detrimental to your performance as no training stimulus at all. Meaning, if you don't have some kind of clear cut stimulus for what you need to be doing, what your body needs to receive as information to adapt to, you might as well not be training. That's pretty extreme, but that's kind of what the research is saying right now. And the other caveat here is the stimulus must be tailored to you, your physiology, your peak performances, your strengths, your weaknesses, your goals, your limitations, what you're actually training towards. You can't just copy and paste some other person's workout. It has to be tailored to you. Variable number 2, and all of these variables we help our athletes with in Ride with Purpose. So for those athletes who actually want to lose fat while gaining power, this is exactly what we help you with. I actually just got a message a couple of days ago from a client who had their MedCan report, which is a report essentially that they do every year from work, where they just go through an in-depth assessment of body fat levels and muscle mass and a bunch of other things, mobility and whatnot. And in the year that we worked together, muscle mass up 6 pounds, fat loss down 6 pounds. The scale did not change, but his body composition and performance did. That's the secret sauce here. Sometimes it's not about weight loss. Sometimes that's just about all of these other variables that if you manipulate correctly, the scale might not change, but you will. Variable number 2 is a strategic nutritional system. Systems are essentially what separate the amateurs from the professional because systems are repeatable, predictable, and quantifiable. Let's start with quantity. Yes, technically you do need to be in a caloric deficit if you want to lose weight, but context matters. Cutting calories blindly, like we said, is like expecting a Ferrari to win on an empty tank. It's not going to win a race on an empty tank. It's not even going to perform well on an empty tank or accelerate well. If your caloric deficit is too aggressive, you lose muscle, you damage your performance, and you keep your fat because your body learns, I actually kind of need this because I don't know when I'm going to get my next calorie in. And here's the other thing. We're not like most people. You're a cyclist. You're burning thousands of calories in your average workout. Most people don't even burn 500 calories throughout a day. So you have to fuel correctly. Then we have to look at the quality of food. If quantity is how much you eat, quality is the type of fuel that you are eating. Yes, you need to also look at macronutrients like how much carbs and proteins and fats you're getting. But then we also need to break down the micronutrients as well. This is the difference. If we're going to look at the Ferrari example, this is the difference between putting 80 octane or 87 octane gas versus 95. Whole foods, quality proteins, complex carbs, healthy fats, omega-3s, all of these things actually help drive your performance. You can't process junk and expect peak performance. I want you to think of it like this. If quantity determines how much weight you're going to lose, quality is going to determine how good you're going to feel. And then the secret sauce is periodization. We've helped a lot of athletes in Ride with Purpose lose fat without dieting, without cutting calories, without cutting meals out and completely starving themselves. And the secret sauce is the periodization. You just need to eat differently and time things differently. If you simply adjust when you eat, whether it be before your training, after your training, on rest days, you can adjust all of these things and manipulate those variables. You can preserve muscle, improve energy, and drop fat without dieting. Same food, different timing, better results. Pillar number 3, this is part of the mental pillar, is the sustainability. You need a sustainable approach. Wisdom of Sirach, if you've ever read in the Septuagint Bible, the Wisdom of Sirach, that is a very cool book. It says moderate eating ensures sound slumber and a clear mind on rising the next day. Sustainability is going to beat willpower because willpower might give you maybe a week or 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks of really good momentum. But at a certain point, if you're not actually following something that can be sustainable for your specific lifestyle, you're not going to be able to hold this long term. So for example, one of my clients is a frequent traveler. I can't make him do meal plans and meal prep every single time that he wants to eat something because he's traveling constantly. He doesn't even have kitchens a lot of the time. He's in a hotel. So we have to take something else. We have to find a sustainable route. And just to avoid an eating disorder, which is all too common in weight loss and even endurance sports, don't think of it like I can't eat this or I shouldn't eat this, because that'll actually just trigger obsession and binge eating and decision fatigue. If you allow yourself to eat something in moderation, it's no longer this guilt-ridden event. It's just food. It's just fuel. It's strategy. General rule. If you restrict, you're creating a craving. If you allow moderation, you're allowing freedom. Finally, the last thing that you need, pillar number 4, is backup plan. Life will always throw curveballs. That's just the way life is. Travel and birthdays and missed rides and cake. And without a backup plan, you're going to derail your progress. But with a plan, you can bounce back pretty fast. It's like having a rainy day fund. If business slows down, you're insulated. You don't have to worry. The book of Proverbs says, though the righteous fall 7 times, they get back up again. Consistency isn't always about perfection. It's just about course correction. It's just about getting up and keeping moving despite having some obstacle that got thrown your way. The myth of needing to be perfect is a cognitive distortion. It's literally called the all or nothing cognitive distortion. And it might have gotten you far in some places in life. But if you actually want to see long-term results, it's not going to help you. True consistency is just doing what matters most of the time. That's where a backup plan helps. So a caloric deficit is enough for the general population who just wants to lose weight and look the exact same. But you are not the general population. You are a high-performing cyclist with high-performance needs. So what you need is something leveraged. You need systems and strategy and stimulus and sustainability. And that's the foundation of what we do in Ride with Purpose. So full disclosure, this is where I'm going to do a CTA. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what Ride with Purpose is, who we help, and how we help them. So if you're a CEO cyclist or an entrepreneur or a founder or a business owner or a leader who wants to lose 10 pounds of fat, gain 30 watts on your FTP in the next 12 weeks, do it in under 4 hours a week of training and do it without dieting, then I am looking for 3 new cyclists this month at Ride with Purpose. We can help you. We've helped a lot of people exactly like you in your position. And we do it by honestly just taking a full overhaul of what is going on in your life right now. What is your training schedule looking like? What's your work schedule? What are you currently eating? What are you training for? What's your blood work looking like? Your hormones looking like? And we take all this full picture, your movement assessment, your cardio numbers, your FTP, your VO2 max. We take this whole picture and then we build exactly what needs to be built. The strategies, the systems, the stimulus, and the sustainable approach to get you to your goal as fast and as efficiently as possible without wasting precious time. I'll put the application down below. Don't apply unless you're serious. And as always, my friends, we'll catch you next time.